Welcome to On This Day. Today's date is February 14th. It is Valentine's Day. It is the 55th day of winter and there are 35 days left until spring. Valentine's Day occurs on February 14th across the United States and a few other places around the world. Candy, flowers, and gifts are exchanged between lovers, all in the name of St. Valentine. Why do I feel so creepy when I say the word lovers? Anyway, moving on. St. Valentine was a clergyman, either a priest or a bishop in the Roman Empire who ministered to persecuted Christians way back in the day. My advice to you is don't look this one up, okay? The history of this one is not what you're expecting. It'll ruin Valentine's Day for you. It's not sexy at all. It's kind of gory and gruesome. So just remember that. Just stick with the explanation I gave my kids. St. Valentine's is the patron saint of knocking boots and getting it on. They seem to be good with that one. Let's see what else this date has given us in the past. 1778, the United States flag is formally recognized by a foreign naval vessel for the first time, when a French admiral renders the 9-gun salute to the USS Ranger, commanded by John Paul Jones, and that's John Paul Jones, the American patriot, not John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin. He wasn't born for almost 175 years later in England, and his last name was Baldwin when he was born. I know, it's confusing. We'll move on. 1849, in New York City, President James Polk becomes the first serving president of the United States to sit and have his photograph taken. Back then, it was probably like the only photograph he's ever had taken, probably the only one he ever did have taken, who knows. I know some girls on Instagram that average about 12 an hour right now. 1855, Texas is linked by telegraph to the rest of the United States with the completion of the connection between New Orleans and Marshall, Texas. And it was downhill from there. The confusion of what they were talking about when they tried to tap in y'all was just really confusing for the rest of the country. 1876, Alexander Graham Bell applies for a patent for the telephone, as does Elijah Gray. Today we know Bell as the inventor of the telephone. He is also the co-founder of American Telephone and Telegraph Company, AT&T. Still going to this day. I have an AT&T phone right here. Whereas Gray co-founded the Western Electric Manufacturing Company, which basically served as the primary supplier and purchasing agent for Bell Systems and AT&T from 1881 to 1996. That's a long business connection there. Anyway, some historians have argued that Gray should be considered the true inventor of the telephone because Bell allegedly stole the idea from him. Who knows? We got to get a time machine and go back and find out for sure. 1903, the United States Department of Commerce and Labor is established, only to split into two different departments 10 years later. Now we have the Department of Commerce and the Department of Labor, their own things. 1929, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in Chicago. 7 people, 6 of them were gangsters and rivals of Al Capone's gang, are murdered in Chicago. The incident results from a struggle to control the organized crime in the city during Prohibition between the Irish Northsiders and the Italian Southsiders. Obviously, Al Capone, being Italian, wasn't too keen on the Irish muscling in on him. The men were gathered in a Lincoln Park garage on the morning of Valentine's Day. They were lined up against the wall and shot by 4 unknown assailants who were dressed like police officers. That's gotta suck. One minute you think you're just being harassed by the cops, next minute you're dead. 2005, YouTube is launched by a group of college students, eventually becoming the largest video sharing website in the world and the main source of viral videos. Google bought the site in November of 2006 for $1.65 billion. YouTube now operates as one of Google's subsidiaries. And they started paying me back in 2017, so bravo YouTube, I like what you're doing. Born on February 14th, 1913, Jimmy Hoffa. He was an American labor union leader who served as the president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. The Teamsters had been around since like 1903, but Jimmy Hoffa made them a powerful organization. He secured the first national agreement for Teamsters rates in 1964 with the National Master Freight Agreement. He disappeared and is believed to have been dead since the day he disappeared on July 30th, 1975. The Netflix movie, The Irishman, it's all about the happenings there. It's really interesting. 1934, Florence Henderson. She was one of television's most beloved moms. She played Carol Brady on The Brady Bunch. She passed away in 2016. Died on February 14th. I've been trying to get through this one for about an hour now. 2018, the victims of the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, including 14 students and 3 staff. Alyssa Aldahoff, 14 years old. Martin Duque, 14 years old. Nicholas Dvorak, 17. Jamie Gutenberg, 14. Luke Hoyer, 15. Cara Loughran, 14. Gina Montalto, 14. Joaquin Oliver, 17. Elena Petty, 14 years old. Meadow Pollock, 18 years old. Helena Ramsey, 17. Alexander Shackner, 14 years old. Carmen Shantrip, 16 years old. Peter Wang, 15 years old, died while holding the door open so other kids could escape. Scott Beagle, 35. Chris Hickson, 49. Scott Beigel, 35. Chris Hickson, 49. Aaron Feiss, 37. That's today's video. We'll see you Monday.